Today's lesson is about finding the mean of data sets. I've got a couple vocabulary terms here we want to discuss before we get started that'll help us out. The first vocabulary term that we have for this section is the mean. The word mean is the sum of the data divided by the number of data values, also known as the average. Those two words are interchangeable, average and mean. So anytime you're finding the average of something like the average batting average in baseball, you're actually finding the mean. The sum of the data. Basically what that is, the sum, remember, is the answer to an addition problem. So you're adding up all of the data and you're dividing it by the number of data values there are. So add all the data up, divide by how many there are. That's how you find the mean. The other vocabulary term we have today is outlier. It's a data value that is much greater or much less than the other values. Now I say much greater or much less because it's something that has to be like much larger or much smaller than the rest. Not just necessarily the highest value or the lowest value, but a number that really doesn't fit. When you look at it, you say to yourself, something seems wrong with that. That doesn't seem like the right number, or that seems like it's way too big, way too small to fit. So now we know mean is the sum of the data divided by the number of data values, and we know about outliers, that they're numbers that are much larger or much smaller than the rest of the data. We can go ahead and start trying to find the mean. It's a pretty simple process. The first thing we're going to do is add up all the values in the set of data. So for this, let's use 7, 5, 9, 6, and 3. Let's just pretend that that's the amount of allowance you get at the end of the week after doing your chores. So each week you got, one week you got $7, one week you got $5, the next week you got $9. The fourth week you got $6, and then finally the last week you got $3 in allowance for doing your chores. First thing we want to do is add up all the values. So if I take and say 7 plus 5, 7 plus 5 is 12, 12 plus 9 is 21, 21 plus 6 is 27, plus 3 is 30. So what's the value? 30. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to divide the sum by the total number of data values. How many data values are there? So look at your set, and I see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers or 5 values of data in this data set. So how I do this, if you remember, it said to take the sum of the value divided by the number of data. What is the mean? 30 divided by 5. And we all know that 6 times 5 is 30. The mean is 6. Now, what does that mean? What does that number mean? The mean is 6. The average is 6. That means that each week you earned approximately $6 in allowance. If you look at this, are there some weeks that you earned more than $6? Yes, you earned $7 and $9 2 different weeks. Are there a couple weeks you earned less than $6? Yes, 5 and 3. There's one week that you actually earned exactly $6. What this tells you is that on average, each week you earned about $6. Sometimes it was more, sometimes it was less, but it was usually pretty close to being $6. And that's how you find the mean. Add all the numbers up, divide by how many there are. Let's take a look at an example here. Here's an example of TV shows you watched during the week. 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 0, and 2. If I'm going to find the mean, I'm going to add up all my numbers. So I take 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 3 is 7, 7 plus 4 is 11, 11 plus 1 is 12, 12 plus 0 is 12, and 12 plus 2 is 14. So my mean then is 14. How many pieces of data are there? If we look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces of data. I have 7 pieces of data here on my data set. 7 times 2 is 14. So the mean is 2. Look at the data set. Are there some numbers that are more than 2? Yep. Are there some numbers that are less than 2? Yes. There are some numbers that are exactly 2. 2 is the average. You could say that on average, each day, you watched approximately 2 television shows. Another example looks like this. The points scored by each starter on a basketball team. We've got 22, 18, 15, 6, and 4. So if we add all those up, sometimes when we get to doing this stuff, you're going to get to a situation where you might not be able to just add them all up in your head. So it might help you if you just come over here and you say, okay, well, let's add them all up by writing it out like this. 22, 18, 15, 6, and 4. If you can add them in your head, that's great. But if you're not, you need to write it out like that. 2 plus 8 plus 5 is 15, plus 6 is 21, plus 4 is 25. 2 plus 1 is 4, plus another 2 is 6. So we've got 65 as my total. How many pieces of data do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of data there. So we're going to divide by 5. 5 into 6 one time. 5 times 1 is 5. Do the subtraction. Bring down your other 5. 5 into 15 3 times. 5 times 3 is 15. When I do my subtraction, my mean is 13. Now, one thing I want to point out, and I forgot to mention on this last problem, but it's very important to make sure that you include the 0 in this data set. If you exclude the 0, it's going to change your mean, and you're not going to have the correct average because 0 is a data value. You would only be dividing by 6 pieces of data then if you got rid of the 0. So when we look at data sets, it's very important that if you see a 0, you must include it. Back to this one. This one has a couple outliers. The 2 outliers in this set are 6 and 4. And if you look at that, you've got a 22, an 18, and a 15. And they're all fairly close to that sort of 19-20 range. They're pretty close to the 20 area. But 6 and 4 are much, much less than what the rest of them are. So those are outliers. Those change the data. So it's important to be able to identify that outliers can affect the data because those 2 numbers are going to bring our average down. Just like I always talk about homework assignments. If you get a 0 on a homework assignment, it brings your grade down considerably because it's an outlier. It's much different than the rest of your assignments. So be careful. Outliers can cause differences and changes in our data. All right, I want you to try one. This is the minutes you spend getting ready for school. So go ahead, add all these numbers up, divide by the number of numbers in the data set, and come up with your mean. Go ahead and pause the video, push play when you're done. All right, let's check how you did on this one. I'm going to go ahead and write these down over here just because there's several pieces of data here and I don't want to get myself lost by doing them all in my head. Makes it nice and easy to do them over here on the side. So if I do the addition here, 8 plus 0 is 8, plus 5 is 13, plus another 7 is 20, plus 8 is 28, plus 4, we've got 32. 3 plus 1 is 5, plus another one is 6, plus another one is 7. We've got 72 as our total. How many pieces of data do we have? We've got 1. Sorry about that. We have 1. We're getting some smart board interference here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of data, so we're dividing by 6. 6 times 1 is 6. So subtraction, we have 1, you bring the 2 down. 6 times 2 is 12. Do the subtraction. The mean of this set of data is 12. One of the common mistakes that I see when students are working on mean is this. Their addition is off. You must make sure that when you do your calculation, when you're doing your addition, that you are coming up with the right answer. So sometimes it doesn't hurt to double check. If your answer comes out wrong, go back, look at your addition and see, did I make a mistake in my addition? Because many times I see that is where the mistakes are made. Let's try another one. Here's your set of data. 31, 73, 82, 58, 44, and 60. Give this one a shot. See how you do. Pause the video and push play when you found the mean. All right, let's check how you did on your mean here. Add up our numbers. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this on the side because these are some bigger numbers here. 58. 44 and 60. Awesome. All right, here we go. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 8 is 14, plus another 4 is 18. So let's put our 8 down there and bring up 1. 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 8 is 18, plus 5 gives us 23, plus 4 gives us 27, plus the 6 gives me a 33. Don't forget about the one up there. There's a 34. So we have 348 as our total after the addition. Dividing that by the number of data values in the set, which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 into 34. 6 times 5 is 30. Do the subtraction. 4 is left over. Bring down your 8. 6 times 8 is 48. And so there you go. Your mean for this set of data is 58. Remember, when you're finding mean, you add up the total of all the values and divide by how many values there are. Add all the numbers up, divide by how many there are. Hopefully you guys learned something today. Hopefully it was a nice review for things we worked on this week in class. As always, if you have questions, please stop in before school, during lunch, or after school for some help. Thanks for watching.